Just so y'all know, just to sum it up for you really quick, the 5 months that they talk about in Revelations is the 5 months I just did in Wise County jail. The scorpions, and this is in Revelations chapter 9. The scorpions are police officers. Their breastplates like breastplates of iron. The golden crowns on their head are like the little golden tassels a lot of the highway patrolmen have on their hats. The guns are their stingers. That it talks about their stingers on their tails allows them um, to torture people for 5 months. And then the sound of their wings is like the sound of many thunderings. That's their helicopters. They their teeth are sharp like knife or sharp, and they talk. That's their propensity to carry out tyranny. Um, that has to do with so it has to do with my quote unquote crucifixion of marriage. Where they tortured me with this woman for, they showed me all they essentially made me have feelings for her, which is kind of hard to explain. But I mean, they imposed it upon me. They showed me myself getting crushed, and it had a reaction to where I was drawn to her because she has money, and they showed me how this worked later on with other women. But they, and it was crazy how that happened, but they had quote unquote Satan do it. And, excuse me. So, the, so what happened? So what happened is the 5 months. It's symbolic of Moses' time in the ark for 5 months. Um, and so that's why it's referred to as the beast of the sea. The beast is actually, it's not a snarling, it's not a demon or anything like that. It's actually like a ram, when it butts its head against another ram and then it wins, and you see like the steam coming out of its nose, like it's like sexual dominion or sexual dominance. And that's essentially what marriage is. That's what, with Moses and his commandments, is like a baiting mechanism to get us to adopt the rule of fundamental laws. The same thing with marriage. It's a primitive urge to exert sexual dominion over another person, and so then you have the government get involved with that urge, and then it's like a baiting mechanism, like I said, harnessing your primitive instincts to get you to adopt the rule of fundamental laws. And so, you evolve to the point to where you don't need those mechanisms anymore, and so they're carrying me through this thing to where then you won't do it anymore. And so basically, when it talks about the 5 months and the sting, and what it is talking about precedence, because it's so unprecedented what they did to me in Wise County, then what then it even bothered the people, without the seal of God on their forehead. That's what I believe that means. And then, following that, it talks about, it's talking about global warming. The horses and riders, they had multiple colored horses and multiple colored breastplates. I'm sorry, excuse me. And so they got me sick in Wise County. I guess that's part of the crucifixion as well. It's part of your crucifixion, sitting here, have to hear me sitting here hacking, I guess. But no, but the angel on the little scroll, said it had 1 foot on the land and 1 foot on the sea, and basically what it's saying is, it came to me at the end of April. This thing, it made a series of shouts, and at the time I could tell that, which I got out yesterday, so May 23rd or whatever. I don't know exactly what the date is, but they, but at the exact date of 5 months, they did show me. I got on the phone with my dad, and he tricked me with my attorney and got me to agree to take the psych evaluation. Told me that, well, the only way you can get out of jail is to take the psych evaluation, because the district attorney has put he's put a hold on your bond, which I later found out that was a lie. And then I confronted my attorney, and then he told me he never said that. So my dad paid this guy to lie, and then he took the money and willingly came forward and lied. And so the like I said, the angel on the little scroll came to me at the end of April. Basically, what that means is that I was about to get out within a relatively short period of time, and the seven thunders was just those series of seven shouts that the angel made, and the little scroll that he's talking about, and this is in Revelations chapter 10, is the book that I wrote while I was in there. So it takes you through everything what happened in much greater detail, so you can understand it. But it's going to take me a while to get that out. But then it says, so in Revelations chapter 11, it talks about these two witnesses, these two olive trees. And what they told me is that these two are actually Scrim and Ruby from G59 Records. And so, it says that these people, they've done damage to us for all this time. And then for 42 months, they're going to prophesy of things to come. And so, what it is that, on July 21st, it'll be 42 months until the next presidential inauguration. And it also talks in Revelation chapter 12. It talks about, and then it talks about the seventh trumpet, and the kingdom of our the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of the Lord and of His Messiah. He will reign forever and ever. But then in chapter 12, it talks about this woman and this dragon and this child. And what it's talking about is they told me, I had a vision, or whatever you want to call it. They showed me Margaret Robbie, and it was like they were taking me through all this stuff between me and this woman. And it was like, well, she really wants you to go see another woman first, and then before you really get in with her. And then I saw Margaret Robbie, and she was like covered in all these snakes, and she was like scared, and she was like, man, I'm sorry. Like something had already happened to her. Basically, and then a voice, like my own internal voice was like, well, she will only have my kids, and like I was a parental figure for her or something. I don't even know this woman. And then I looked online, and it said she was pregnant. And then when I got to jail, it said, well, she's going to have a son. So what it's saying, and then when I was jail, it was like, well, you're going to rule the world, but your next in line, has to die. But it showed me the dragon is like this little dragon that stands in the corner. It has like teddy bear features. And it was like felt really bad that it was having to do this stuff to me. So the dragon is like necessary evil. But it's saying like the dragon was waiting for this kid to come out. Like, we're going to kill this kid because we're going to have a king with you, but in this modern age, we're not going to accept that ever again, because you're the Messiah, you came here to rule, but that's in the modern age, like I said, so, people don't want to live under a tyrant, it's different with me. And so, basically, the 42 months also is symbolic of, with Saul and 1 Samuel, Samuel came to God, and he goes, these people want a king. And he goes, well, tell them what they're going to get with a king. And then he comes back and he goes, well, they still said they still want a king. And he goes, okay, we'll give him Saul. And then Saul ruled for 42 years. So what it is saying is, like, you don't deserve to have a king, but you've said, what I mean? With your actions, you've demanded one, And so, and I come in and I'm going to release all these. So what they're saying is that these people are going to prophesy for 42 months of things to come. And those things is like in Revelations chapter 13, the beast out of the sea. And what it is saying is the beast is going to come out of the sea, and he's going to rule the dragon's going to give him his authority for 42 months. And what it's saying is that it says, he who leads into captivity must be led into captivity. He who kills with a sword must be killed with a sword. So all these people have been kicking in our doors and calling us away for drugs and prostitution, or gun possession or et cetera, et cetera, they're all going to prison, okay? And the military is going to come in and it's going to be martial law, okay? And then I'm going to decide, and then so all these people I'm going to let all these people out of prison, and then all these other people are coming into prison. That's going to go on for 42 months. And then afterwards, and this is still Revelations 13, but it talks about the beasts of the earth. Afterwards, what's going to happen is then it's their what they have, and this is what they've said. This is what they want is for us to deport all the minorities, and so and then so that's why we're going to put the microchips in people to keep them out. Because I didn't come up with this. I read and found out, because I was like, how would you? But this is this is how you would get it done, And so you're going to put microchips in people, and then once you get them out, then the only way you can buy or sell is if you have a microchip in you, And so that's only going to be the Caucasian people are going to have it, and so it's going to be a nation of Caucasian people, and then so at the end of Revelations, it talks about, the name of the 12 disciples was written on the 12 foundations of the city walls. And those 12 foundations are, and so what that means is, when I was in jail, it told me what the name of the 12 disciples were going to be. Is essentially whoever I wanted. But basically what it means is that the foundation of the city walls, back then was to keep the enemies out. It's essentially just saying, that's a necessary thing to have, a crime and punishment. But then it goes on to say the foundation of the city walls are going to be rubies and sapphires and amethyst and turquoise and diamonds and so basically what it's saying is that in the future it's going to be the people who belong in prison are going to be in prison, and the people who don't belong in prison aren't going to be in prison. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And so I was really excited about that, and when I got to writing about that part of it, how I would do things, I got a lot of writing done that day. It didn't exhaust me. It was really exciting. So, and it says, that it says that, he's going to perform miracles, making fire come out of the sky, and what that is actually airstrikes. And so, and this is what they said. I said, well, what do we do if they won't leave? Because obviously a lot of these, like they said, send the black people back to Africa. A lot of these black people aren't going to want to go to Africa. And they probably won't, they'll probably refuse, and there's so many of them. And so, it showed me like an airstrike, and then I read this. And so basically, that's the way it is. And so it has to do with, it says, the mark on your hand and on your forehead, it goes all the way back to when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. And then God said, remember this as a mark on your, as on your hand and on your forehead. And then when he gave the 10 commandments, then he said, bind these commandments as a mark on your hand, and on your foreheads, as bound them on your hands and on your foreheads. And basically it's like telling us, and I've concluded as well that the racism may be a primitive instinct that they want us to harness, by intertwining it with the laws. Then it gets you to adopt the rule of fundamental laws. And I believe that that's possible. They've suggested, things that have led me to believe that, but then they've suggested things that were deeply racist as well. And, like they referred to the black people as dogs, you know what I mean? And you go to the very last paragraph of Revelations, and it says, outside are the dogs of the great city. Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life and go through the gates into the city. Outside are the dogs, etc., etc. And, it says the gates of the city are going to be a single pearl. And you think about what is a pearl, and, it starts off as a piece of sand, and it goes into an oyster. And then, over time, it becomes this, valuable thing. So I think that's kind of what they're saying is, with the Caucasian race, I started off with you, and I've been working with you for a long time until you've become something, you know, uh, more highly evolved to establish a civilization than many of these other races. And you look at some of their countries, and you can see that that's possibly the case. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, like they called the Middle Easterners. I was like, the Middle Easterners, they come in here, they go to college, they're deeply, intelligent, uh, or incredibly intelligent, and so I was thinking, well, what they said about black people shouldn't apply to them. And then later on, they came to me, and it was like, it was almost like, where'd you come up with that? You know what I mean? It was insulted. You know what I mean? It was like, I didn't tell you that. You know what I mean? And they came to me and go, is that a towel head? You know what I mean? I mean, they used the word. They said, is that a towel head? And then, and then it was like the voice of a man, and then a voice of the angel was like it's like, oh man, the way this thing talks, it came to me and it was like, is that a machine? And so maybe I can get into some more stuff later. I've, like I said, it's as of right now, man. They just dropped me off in the middle of Pennsylvania. My dad wanted, he like, as soon as I got out of jail, my attorney was like, "Oh yeah, if you don't go, it's your bond is contingent." I mean, he just lies. You know what I mean? I know the bond is contingent on money. I looked into it. I had the money. I needed a co-signer to get me out of jail, and nobody would co-sign for me. I couldn't get anybody to co-sign for me. I couldn't get out of jail, so I ended up sitting in there, and he goes, he goes, uh, well, your bond is contingent on it. And so I knew that if I didn't get in the airplane with him and go, then possibly they could, pull something on me. So I came all the way up here, and then I got up here and I was like, so I can leave whenever I want. And this guy was like, well, let's go inside and talk about it. Well, and I was like, okay, let me go see where get my clothing and stuff. And so I went and got my clothing, and then I just walked off, and so I don't even know where they're at. But I just walked off, and so I'm in a room right now. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. But I guess at least I'm not in jail. But I mean, I'm in the middle of Pennsylvania. This sucks. But anyways, but I think this has to do with the three, they logged me out of all my emails because of what I was sending out, and what these videos have to do with. I sent it out from one email, but they logged me out of all my emails. That's never happened to me before. So the establishment is threatened, and they're reacting irrationally. But anyways, yeah, I just want to go ahead and stop this right now so it doesn't get too long to scare people away. But that should give you a better idea, more of an abridged version of what I've been talking about, without trying not to get off topic too much. But yeah, up here in Pennsylvania, it says a voice will come to them and say, from heaven, it'll say, come up here after 3.5 days. And maybe after 3.5 days, they'll give me my emails back, and then maybe I'll say something like that to them. These people, man, I don't know what I'm going to say to them, but, yeah,